Hello everyone, in this video we're gonna go through the daily cycle, so I'll explain you everything I'll look for my intraday mastery throughout the day. So the first session we encounter through the day is Asia session. Now, I don't trade Asia personally because it's going to give me data from the session that I trade. That will be London and New York. You can still trade Asia, there is anything wrong with it. The price action acts in the same exact way throughout the session. Now, most of the traders think that Asia, New York, and London, and whenever session they think the market behaves in different ways. But in reality, when you even go to look to the chart, you can say in a specific amount of data that this will be Asia session or this will be London session, right? The market acts in the same way no matter what time is. Now, there are specific behaviors that happen onto some days onto specific confirmation, but they're not always, and they're not gonna change way too much your understanding. Because remember, we all trade the range cycle. So the cycle from internal range equity to external range equity. That's what we trade. We don't trade session. They, to me, they simply act as confluence when it look for intraday opportunities, but they're not, let's say, my main focus, right? Because my main focus is simply my range from A to B, right? So be aware of that. Every reason we have, every thought I have when I do an analysis is all made and based through the range cycle. But if you look for intraday setup, session will give you a key and a lot of understanding and confluences when you look to the setups, right? So let's start breaking down. So we have Asia session. That will be the first session I encounter today, right? So the main thing I look for Asia is if they close with a strong highs or with a strong low. But all matter is the structure we are looking for. Now, let's say we are bullish on a bullish market structure, and that will be the high, right? If Asia closed with a strong low, and in the overall, we are on a bullish scenario because let's say our high time frame target is up here, that means we are bullish on the overview. You don't have to look about how Asia closed, analyzing if closed bullish or bearish, because it doesn't matter. Everything that matters is the range cycle we are inside, right? So if in the overall we are bullish, so we have a bullish bias, and Asia closed with a strong low, we can expect it to hold, right? And do not get taken. Now, not always this will happen, but following my data, you have 80-90% if you have a bullish bias that the strong low created during Asia session will hold. So you can potentially look for nice setups, right? Same things applies if the market is bearish. So let's say we come from a bearish scenario like this, and our overall target is this low right here. We can expect the high of Asia to hold and potentially catch a setup and take the target out, or even, let's say, continue going. Now, the much more important thing is the context you're inside. So that's why you have to always start breaking down your range and then look to session as confirmation, right? So sometimes you will have both strong highs and strong lows inside Asia. Sometimes you will just have a high and liquidity below. So you have to think. Don't think as patterns that they run through the daily cycle, but use it as a form of logic. This in the long run will give you a lot of knowledge and understanding. Because of my experience, I started looking to patterns that they can actually happen. And that was way too messy because you have, let's say, to think about 5 to 6 scenarios that may happen, and you have to figure it out which one it is. But when you start applying the main logic, so let's say you have a high right here and right here, that's a low, and let's say you only have internal range equity being built in, what's gonna happen is after Asia, price will just come, the high will hold because that's a strong high, and you can get the confluence to take the short out. And that will be a high probable setup, right? So these one are just the main two things I look for Asia session. But again, the much more important thing is the bias. If you have the right bias, you can use this confirmation. Don't start just because Asia closed with a strong high and a strong low. So the main session I focus all my trades is London session. Right, so let's start actually adding some data. So let's see, we are bullish onto this leg. We have strong highs, strong lows being built here. And we already, let's say, took out the internal range liquidity. And our day obviously starts with Asia. So let me just make purple. This box right here will be Asia session. And let's say we don't have a strong low. So basically, we have Asia that close with a liquidity. Trend and liquidity equal lows right there. Now, if we are bullish, because remember, we are on a bullish market structure for our high time frame range, we already took out the internal range liquidity. So now we just expect price to come to the external range liquidity. So in the overall for the day, we can expect that we are bullish, right? So now, if Asia is not an actual strong low, the main thing I will look for London is just potentially wait for the Asia low to get swept. So let me just make it blue. That will be everything in blue will be everything that happens during London session to take out the low of Asia, creating the low of the day, right? And then reverse. I don't have specific timings on this movement can happen. There are confluences on a strict amount of range of time, but I not used to use it frequently. Simply because when you put your mind to actually trade on a small window of time, you will force yourself to catch setups because you will fear to miss a setup. So that's why I don't use it. I know that this will happen. There are high chances that this will happen, creating the lowout of the day. So basically what you can do is just find the closest PI to your liquidity and execute, or just look for a confirmation entry. Usually when the manipulation happens, it doesn't use to give a lot of reentries. So basically you will see just price pumping up and give his reaction. Right, so that's the main thing I will look for London session. Now, obviously, if you understand that in the actual structure, this high right here will be a QM. You can just take re-entries throughout this structure right here until the Asia low will get hit. So that's a nice confirmation if you want to ping pong inside of the day. Now let's also go to see the bearish example. So we come like this. Right here. So we have our range. From the previous one, we already took out internal range liquidity. So now we can come to the external. Now I'm showing you the simplest example. So basically you are on the phase, you're gonna take out external on a bearish market structure. But obviously, let's say you are into this phase when you have to look for internal range liquidity. And yeah, your bias is going to be bullish. So whenever right here, you'll find, let's say, is a session, you can expect London to create a low of the day. That's still valid because in the overall, inside of this price action, you're going to be bullish. So don't look only to movements that come to the external liquidity. Look for the bias. If your target is up here, you're going to be bullish inside of this window of time. That can be days, seconds, minutes, it doesn't matter. You're bullish. And when you have to go from a target down there, you're going to be bearish. So no matter the overall structure, it's just the momentum you're inside. Where is the target? That will determine your bias. Or you can look for these kind of setups. So right here we have our Asia session right here. And let's say close with equal lows right there. So what we can expect during London is just London will take out the Asia high, create the high of the day, and then continue the bearish movement, right? That's the main thing I will look to. The setup you can get from up here will be one of the highest probable. Now, this is anything that happens 100% of the time because you have to think about the market structure. But if I have to choose a specific setup that I can only take throughout my old trades, I will mainly focus onto these setups because if you have the right bias, this will easily get you 80 to 90% win rate, right? And the amount of risk redeem you can catch is easily flowed into a 1 of 5 and a 1 of 10 because usually gives a lot of manipulation right here. So you can take, let's say, some partial to the Asia low and the rest from the high time frame target, or just hold the trade till come to your external range liquidity, right? So that will be what I look for London session. Now let's go over New York. Now, New York is a session that usually I look for confirmation or reversal. Because let's say you have this confirmation throughout the day. So you have Asia right here. London, remember, there is always blue. Create the high of the day because in the world they're bearish. And let's make New York orange. Right, so everything you'll see in orange, that will be inside New York session. Now, there are two main things that can happen. The first one will be that inside New York, a continuation of the London session. So basically, your target is, let's say, the low right here, and you come inside this picture. So you already took out internal London session, and your target is down there. Usually, New York will offer you a continuation, right? So you can easily stack trades right here. That will be the main thing you can look for New York. The second thing will be, let's say we are actually on a bullish market structure, is that New York will actually gives you a reversal, right? If price came onto a logical area. So you have always to be aware of these two options, right? You can use both to actually ping pong because as you can see, it's much more easier when you look for intraday setup with these sessions because you can expect, let's say, your high time frame POI is here. Asia didn't close with a strong high. You're also inside this pulper range and to the lower time frame. So you can expect price to take out the internal during London session, creating that inducement, making people wanting to go long right here, stop them out, but you understand onto your high time frame range that can be this black one from this high to this low, that the external liquidity has to be taken out. This can be, let's say, a T2 or even building up more internal liquidity. So you can expect price to come here, and during New York, you can just take it directly, or let's say just wait for some kind of confirmation. Right. As you can see, it's so powerful, and that's the only way I use the daily cycle. But as you can see, you cannot build any sort of bias if you don't understand your high time frame range that you're inside. In this case will be my black range right here. All right, so these are the main session I look for trades, and that's basically my daily cycle explained. Now, a lot of traders use tons of other session as specific timings. Now, below this video, I'll show you the indicators that I use with the specific timings I recommend to use. Now, a lot of traders use different timings. To me, there is no issue with, but for what I see on my experience, let's say there is not a specific timing that London begin and let's say London ends. These are just made for us as traders. So all the timing you're gonna see are the which one I use and the which one I recommend, and I look for all the setup I have, right? So that will be all for the actual daily cycle. I hope you all enjoyed and found it helpful. See you until the next one, guys.